Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me again for another episode of the Solutions Podcast. In today's episode, I want to share with you a personal experience from the weekend, but have you ever had one of those moments where you had to make a choice between doing one thing or another thing, and you knew that making that choice was the right thing to do, but even though you knew that, it didn't mean you felt really good about it. In fact, you felt kind of like a failure. I want to share with you why that happens to us and give you 3 things that you can do and implement to make it easier on you on the other side. So listen to the introduction and I'll meet you back there.
Einstein said, "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them." Most everyone in the world is solving their problems the wrong way. Our problems come from our thinking, and we can solve them with our thinking. So whether you're at your lowest, just trying to grow, or whether you are trying to sustain growth over your lifetime, join us as we push the boundaries of our current thinking and redefine how we find solutions.
The hope and the strength and the love and the smiles and the laughter of friends and family. Add it up, you'll find no limit to the possibilities.
So, when life goes sideways, and I shared about that in a previous episode, I think it was last week's episode, and we have to make some decisions. I was talking about this today in the Soulshine Labs class. It's like something happens, a diagnosis, a crisis, a family event, and we don't just reorganize our calendars. Like, we end up using our feeling of being crunched and squished against ourselves. We end up, or at least I do, I end up weaponizing the fact that I had a full calendar of things I was looking forward to doing. I end up using that against myself. And in psychology, you call that weaponizing something against yourself. And in the Soulshine Labs, we are so curious about why this happens, because I think so many of us misinterpret that internalizing something against ourselves to mean that we have done something wrong, or we're a failure, or somehow we're just not living up to like normal, regular old people stuff. And that is not what that voice means. When we are super hard on ourselves, like, that's the voice that we want to stop, look, and listen to so that we can see where it's coming from, not so that we can believe what it is telling us. Because that voice is a harsh voice, and it's coming from a very scarce place. It's coming from our old part of our brain that we talk about this all the time here. I know that you recognize this, but this is yet one more example of, like, when our nervous system starts to get dysregulated and we start to think from that older evolutionary part of our brain, the brain that I mean, let's face it, it's why we are here today. It's the survival part of our brain. It's not, however, this newer, beautiful prefrontal cortex part of our brain, right? The brain that has such a great perspective on things in life. So, when you hear that voice say something like, "You should have predicted that this would happen. You should have seen that, oh my gosh, there you went again, Tara. You overcommitted yourself to stuff. Are you ever gonna learn this lesson?" That voice, the one that sounds so smart and wise, but it's really mean, and it is weaponizing what has happened to you against yourself. This is the voice that I want to teach you how to reframe once you listen to it, right? I said, when you hear it, stop, look and listen. And what comes after that is evaluate and pivot. And so here's my quick little reframe for when that happens. And I do really call myself this because I'm talking to a smaller part of myself, but I'll say, wow, sweetheart, you didn't see that coming. Of course you said yes to all those things back then. I mean, you didn't have a crystal ball into your future. And then I just let the truth of that statement, of that reality that, yeah, I really was doing the best that I could. Like, I did agree to do all of these things because I didn't have a crystal ball that said, on September 30th, 2025, you're going to wake up to your son having seizures in the bed next to you. I didn't have that. Nobody sent me that memo beforehand. And so after that happened, I have to, take in the new circumstance. And I was doing this with a client yesterday. I mean, I take out my legal pad like from my former lawyer days, and I just start writing down everything that I have on my list of things to do. And this is this part of moving from, a scarcity mindset to an abundant mindset. Now, here's this sneaky thing that scarcity does. It masquerades as being responsible. When I just said that voice, it's like, oh, Tara, you've overcommitted. It sounds like this responsible parental voice in my head. But it really is the voice of scarcity versus the voice of abundance. The scarcity voice says things like this. You might recognize these things. If I step back, I'll leave them in the lurch. I'll make their life harder. I'll be that person. I don't want to be that person. Maybe I should just keep a toe in and help them a little bit. Okay. It does sound like very reasonable and responsible in a way, but I want you to compare it to this voice, the abundance voice. I'm putting my hand over my heart so I can channel the abundance voice right now. Okay. Hey, these are capable women, very well-resourced adults, people who didn't wake up on September 30th with their son having a seizure in the bed next to them. There are also structures put in place for this organization that I work with them within. And I think they have the resources to absorb my responsibilities, to take these responsibilities over so that I can shift my attention to the thing that only I can do, which is show up as the mother for this kid. So when we have a big shift happen to us, we need to really take an inventory of all the things that we have on our plate. And you're not going to want to do it. And the part of you that doesn't want to do it is that voice, that voice that's coming from a place of scarcity. It's the part that is going to feel like a failure when you do it, even though you know it's the right thing to do. But you have to begin to trust in the bigger picture, whether it's God's plan or the ability of other people to absorb your jobs when the season in your life shifts. Abundance is going to get you to act sooner on this. Like, the abundance mindset is going to be the mindset that needs to come online and on board within you to be able to walk that scarcity mindset. That part of you that's coming from that old brain needs to walk you back off the ledge and say, this is going to be okay. So, this is exactly the process that I used over the weekend because I was involved in a big organization, a national organization, and I have a really big leadership role that's in charge of like communicating things for a 4-state area. And so when this event, this health crisis just happened in my family, and I knew intellectually that I needed to step aside, and I even had the support of my chairman above me to do that. I still had such a hard time doing it. It was crazy. I felt like I needed 4 hours of time in order to draft one email to the people. What I didn't realize at the time was that was just another example of this scarcity mindset being on board. And I've shared with you in previous episodes, and I've been teaching this in the Soulshine Labs earlier this fall, but when your mind shifts from your prefrontal cortex with the abundance mindset, and it falls back into your older part of your brain, the amygdala, the evolutionary part of your brain that has a scarcity mindset, we lose 10 IQ points. I mean, truly, like our prefrontal cortex is like 10 IQ points higher than our amygdala, like when you're trying to make decisions that require executive functioning. Like the amygdala is great if there's really a lion chasing you, like you want that to come online because you don't need those type of IQ points. You just need survival points to come on board. But in the kind of situations that you and I find ourselves in today, we really do need more of these like executive functioning, higher IQ points to walk ourselves through these decisions. So in taking, the time to step back and think like what all was going on in my brain and impacting and driving my decision making over the weekend in this, it was like, oh yeah, I really did feel like I needed a lot more time. And once I could just take a moment to breathe and to say, okay, Tara, you really just don't want to do this because you feel like you're going to be a failure. But I don't think it's going to take that long. So let's sit down at the computer and let's just start writing. And, the interesting thing was once I was able to relax and access that abundant mindset, the words just flowed. And it was, given, the significant change in my family's needs, I need to step back from this job during this season of my life. Now, I want to pause here because I want you to hear those words again. Given the significant change in my family's needs over the last few weeks, I need to step back from this job for this season. Okay, do you hear the confidence, like the having my back, the centeredness that came from? And then the next point, I trust the depth of talent on this team. And I am confident that you're resourced to move forward without me. Now, let me break this sentence down for you because I want you to use this as a script when you get into this position in your life. And the reason is because I wish someone had given me the script and I didn't have to come up with it on my own. But now that I have, I see how easy it is, and I also see the math of why it works. And what this second sentence is doing is it's like you are handing them over your abundant mindset. You're saying, okay, as soon as they hear that you need to step back, one of two things is going to happen. You're either going to be dealing with someone who has an abundant mindset and they're going to agree with you wholeheartedly, Or you're going to be talking to someone who doesn't have an abundant mindset and who really doesn't understand your reason for having to step back, and who probably is feeling overwhelmed themselves, hence their own scarcity mindset. So for that person, this sentence, I trust the depth of talent on this team, and I'm confident that you are all well-resourced enough to move forward without me. There's a sense of confidence and a sense of belief that I want to transfer them to believe in themselves, to kind of lift that person out of the scarcity mindset. And then I close with just this simple thank you. I am grateful for the opportunity that you gave me. And, I am here to support whatever handoff needs to be made from me to the next person that you pick to take this job. I am not going to leave you in the lurch. Now that again is expressing, your gratitude that you really do. This did mean something to you, and you were so grateful for the opportunity. And it also reassures them that you're not going to leave them in the lurch. You're going to let them do the picking and the choosing of the next person. But hey, I'm going to hand that next person my playbook on how to do this. And then you say it and you breathe. All right. Now, this reason I'm pointing out of the recipient of your words is because there's someone in the Soulshine Labs who's like, I wish way back when I had to do this, that I was where I am today from being in the Soulshine Labs for the last 5 years. Like, I remember, this woman was saying, I remember when I knew deep in my heart I needed to step back from a position. I knew I was the mother of 3 children. I knew what May was. I knew what all that was going to be needed from me, from my family. And then when I saw what this job was going to require of me and May, I knew that I couldn't do it, that I wasn't going to be able to do both jobs well. And when I communicated it to the person that was head of this organization, they didn't understand. And she said, in fact, they were so disappointed in me that they let me know that they were disappointed in me. And they kind of held it against me for about 5 years until they got to the point in their life where they had something like this happen. And I just want to be real with you. If you use this script, it doesn't mean that everybody is going to support you. But that's why I shared the script in the way that I did, because you need to know that sometimes you're going to run into someone else and you're going to be communicating your need to step aside, and they are going to be in a scarcity mindset. And that is nothing personal to you. And that doesn't mean that you are any less of a person. It just means they haven't gotten there yet. And it's actually one of the reasons why I wanted to record this podcast today, because we spoke about this in the Soulshine Labs as well. It's like, we need to talk about this more as women. We're told as young girls that, you can grow up, you can do it all, you can have it all, you can be it all. But what no one ever tells us is that, hey, you can have the capability of, you do have the capability of doing all of these amazing things in the world, but you also have a limited capacity. And by that, I mean the hours in the day, your human body that you have. Like, all of these are finite instruments, and that you have to work within the confines of those finite instruments. And we need to be proactive in spreading this word that, hey, there are going to be many seasons in your life, many seasons that you never see coming, that are going to require you to make some hard decisions, to step back from things and trust other people in those things. All right. Now, Here's another thing that I want you to know that this script is not going to handle for you. And that is going to be your own internal conflict, your own feeling of failure. And this is tied into this idea of what we have been, told as young people, that we can do it all, this capability thing. Like, after I sent that email, and even though I received text messages that reassured me and said, that was a beautiful email, and thank you so much for sending it. And I don't even know that I've ever read an email that was written that well in this situation. So accolades and validation. Even though I was receiving those accolades and validation, I felt awful. I just felt awful. And so, again, I placed my hand over my heart in that situation. And instead of berating myself, right, I just sit here and I listen. And this is a great opportunity to tune into what Dr. Richard Schwartz calls the internal family systems, which are all the little voices in your head that have picked different messages up. And so I put my hand on my heart, and I realized that this feeling was a feeling that was a younger version of me had felt before, like this feeling of failure. And, I just spoke to this part of me again. And here's the script I say to myself. Okay, sweetheart, here we are again. I know that you feel like a failure, and I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You are amazing, and you are like such a capable human being, but your capacity is limited. There's only so much time in your day. There's only so much of you to spread around. And so what you're feeling is not the fact that you are a failure as a human being. What you're feeling is just this inner conflict between what you thought it was going to be like, to be a grown woman, and what it actually is like. And it's not your fault that nobody prepared you that this was going to be part of life. And so you hear that sense of kindness, that tone in my voice that's just kind. All right. So and this is a fun thing. I think of this as moving from my inner critic to my inner caretaker for myself, right? All right. So here's a little exercise. Let's practice it together. I want you to inhale for four breaths, or 4 counts, right? Not 4 breaths, 4 seconds. Inhale. And I'm counting to 4 in my head, and then I'm going to hold it for 4 seconds. And then I'm going to exhale. All right. I'm going to inhale again, and I'm going to exhale. And I'm going to say, I'm allowed to choose. Now, I'm going to add something on here, because if you have ever heard of tapping or know anything about tapping, it's really a great thing to not just keep your hand on your heart, but just to tap on your body somewhere. And there are these different points. Right now, I'm just going to tap underneath my collarbone, because that's really an easy thing to do. And you can do that where you are. So tapping and breathing, I'm allowed to choose. What is the one thing on my legal pad list that I can do, I can delete, or I can delegate today to lighten my load? And then I want you to set your timer for 15 minutes and write it and send it. Done. I did this with one of our members in the Soul Shine Labs yesterday. She's like, Tara, I need this extra coaching on this, and I'm just stuck, and we really need some time to go over it. And I said, instead of waiting 2 days and getting an hour on the calendar to do this, I want you to do this exercise with me. And we went right through it. And then I said, now I want you to get off the phone, and I want you to write out a draft of the email and send it to me. She was skeptical, and you may be skeptical too, but then she did it and she sent it to me. And I said, this is perfect. Hit send. And this morning she sent me a text. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I was holding on to that thing. You hear the scarcity, right? That comes from scarcity. I can't believe I was holding on to that thing for so long. I have been dragging my feet to send that email for a month, and I feel such relief right now. So, I want to normalize these seasons, and I want to normalize our responses to these seasons, right? These seasons are going to come. We do not have a crystal ball. And we do have a scarcity mindset in the back part of our brain and an abundant mindset in the executive functioning front of our brain. And we are going to have to learn to toggle between the two. So here are the 3 takeaways to help you do that. 1, you notice the voice and you ask yourself, is this my inner critic? Am I using this situation against myself? Or is this the soulful, soul-shine part of me, right? Okay, number 2, anchor in abundance. Replace this I'm leaving them hanging mindset with they are capable and resourced adults. I believe in them. I trust in the bigger picture. All right. And then 3, name the season that you're in. This is not my season for that job. This is my season for fill in the blank. And in my situation, it's to be more available for my son. Okay. Well, if this helped you, I hope that you will share this episode by sending a text to one of your friends. Like in the podcast thing, you can hit share and just share it with a friend who's carrying too much right now. And your share may just be the nudge that she needs to choose, herself and to remember to trust and that it's okay for her to let go of some things in this unexpected season of her life. And of course, if these conversations are something that you're growing fond of in the Solutions podcast, I would just love it if you would begin to consider joining us the next time we open the Soulshine Labs. That is going to be the first of the year in January 2026. So keep coming back here to the podcast. Until then, make sure you're following us, that you've subscribed so that you get the notices of the latest drop. And I just want to say thank you so much that there are 300 downloads of the last episode. And that's just a really big deal to me. It helps me just feel like what I'm doing is relevant and important and meaningful for y'all. So I hope you have a wonderful time, and we'll see you next time on the podcast.
'Cause I ain't done living the life I'm meant to lead. And I ain't done loving the ones who cared for me. The hope and the strength and the love and the smiles and the laughter of friends and family. Add it up, you'll find no limit to the possibilities. The left and the right and some faith in the fight.